So we'll come back to some of these legal questions. Jonathan Lemire literally has to catch a plane, and the plane is Air Force One. He's traveling with the president this morning. Jonathan, let's talk about the president's weekend. Headed to Florida for a fundraiser, then he shoots up to New Hampshire for a campaign rally. What's the message this weekend?
So the president and his campaign are trying to reboot their campaign yet again. Let's remember, of course, that he was sidelined for months after the pandemic first reached the United States. His attempt at a political comeback, the rally was in Tulsa, and it was, by all accounts, inside and outside the campaign, a debacle. It was billed as this huge show of force. There was boasts of 1 million ticket requests. Instead, only 6,000 people showed up in a deep red state. The president saw a sea of empty seats and was in a rage about it. And since then, we've seen campaign shakeups, and they've had to go back to the drawing board in terms of how they're going to try to campaign during COVID-19, particularly at a time where the virus is really surging in a number of states, including Florida, which is where we're going today. But not for a coronavirus event. The president has a trio of events. One is a in-person fundraiser. That's the first one of those he's had in a month, and it comes on the heels of Joe Biden outraising him last month. So that's something that Republicans are concerned about. He's got an event showing support of the people of Venezuela, another one with Southern Command, touting how the entry of illegal drugs into this country has really fallen off in recent months, although, of course, the pandemic plays a large role in that. And then tomorrow night, yes, he makes it's Rally 2.0. New Hampshire this time in Portsmouth. It'll be in an airline hangar, so mostly outdoors. The campaign is they're setting expectations much lower. They're saying they're not sure how many people will show. They're encouraging the use of face masks. Unlike last time, people will be able to stand, be a little more socially distant. But a lot of eyes will be on this. If it's another disappointing crowd, there'll be real questions about whether the president can do these rallies that he loves so much at a time when Americans are so nervous about their safety during this virus. And as a final point, the choice of New Hampshire is sort of an unusual one, too. I mean, it's a state the president lost narrowly in 2016. It's considered sort of a reach right now. Polls, internal and external, show that he's down fairly significantly there. They're not writing it off, but it's not a must-win state either, like a Florida or Arizona or perhaps a Pennsylvania or Michigan. The issue is, it has a Republican governor who's willing the president to have a large gathering here, while Democratic governors in Michigan and Pennsylvania have made clear they won't be waiving health regulations for the president to have a rally in those states anytime soon. The campaign says they'll fight that in time, not yet. But a note, Governor Sununu, a Republican in New Hampshire, he won't be attending today's rally, despite the fact that he has given permission for it to happen. He thinks it's not. He encourages everyone there, including the president, to wear a face mask. The COVID rate in New Hampshire, not as high as in other states, but certainly something that a lot of campaign officials are nervously watching. Are people going to show up?
Yeah, we note much less hype around this rally than there was before Tulsa when that disappointing crowd showed up for the president. Jonathan Lemire, we'll let you hop on the plane. We'll talk to you again on Monday. Thanks so much. Have a good weekend.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.